podcast series partnership between CEBRI and the Consulate of Ireland in São Paulo, which seeks to promote the international exchange of experience and perspectives between Irish and Brazilian stakeholders and society on strategies to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. I am Izabella Teixeira, trustee of CEBRI and also former Minister of Environment in Brazil, and I will be moderating the session today. The event is hosted by Casa Firjan, thank you very much, in partnership with CEBRI. During the panel, the main goals is to analyze Sustainable Development Goals 9, focus on industry, innovation, and
this meeting is being recorded.
But before we can move forward, considering to introduce the panelists, I'd like to invite Ambassador Frederico Araújo, the National Director at Firjan, to share his opening remarks and also to thank you very much, Ambassador, for this partnership and that Casa Firjan can host this event today together with the Consulate of Ireland in Brazil. Please, you have the screen. Good morning, my dear friend. My pleasure to see you. And you have this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to share with you a few opening remarks in such a panel of special importance, especially from now on. The 21st century means of communication in constant innovation are prompting a major historical revolution with ramifications into all aspects of life. This revolution, I sense, started with commercial internet, has been followed by mobile internet, and now we are navigating on its third wave, IoT, Internet of Things. Concomitantly, the slow imposing change in earth environmental conditions has been scientifically proven and is sensibly observed. Pollution in general and its harmful results are central in this alteration. Thus, environmental sustainability became fundamental to guide our way of living in harmony with nature. That is why the expectations of the forthcoming UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, to be hosted by the UK in Glasgow, November next, are very high. Rightly so. This topic is nowadays the most important in the world's agenda. In 2015, the United Nations set out 17 goals to lead humanity through a more constructive and sustainable way to the future. In 2018, Firjan signed the United Nations Global Compact, an initiative that leads organizations towards sustainability practices focused on environment, human rights, labor, and anti-corruption. Parallelly, some criteria have been set to orient industrial firms and other types of companies in their way of operating so as prospective investors could easily observe their performance to make decisions. These criteria have been named ESG, Environmental, Social, and Governance, standards to screen potential investments. Environmental aspects reveal how the company focuses nature with a big N. Social components establish the proper standards of relationship the company should develop with its employers, suppliers, customers, and the communities around where it operates. Governance deals with compliance, company's leadership, salaries for executives, credits, internal controls, and so on. All these guiding principles are strategic for promoting industrial development from now on. This communication revolution is in its third wave, has affected industry to a point that we have been witnessing the fourth industrial revolution, which is being identified as Industry 4.0. Firjan has always been devoted to the defense and promotion of industrial interests in Rio de Janeiro. For such, it has always attained world standards of industrial advances. A series of initiatives such as Productive Resilience Program, Green Chemistry Institute, the recently created Civil Construction Reference Center in Senai Tijuca, they are all examples of caring attention given to proper industrial development. Casa Firjan, inaugurated in 2018, is a major think tank entirely devoted to focus on every aspect of what is to come ahead in industry as a whole. It centers its activities precisely on disrupting technologies, innovation, and creative industries in the future. Participants in this panel are all involved in industrial aspects. Firjan is really under the spell of what is to come from its experience this panel together. On behalf of the Federation, I welcome you all. Mr. Eoin Bennis, the Consul General of Ireland in São Paulo, to whom we owe this initiative, represents a country that has been endeavoring to give humanizing contours, let us say, to all aspects of Industry 4.0. Minister Izabella Teixeira, whose profound knowledge of every aspect of the environment and most constructive contribution to Brazil as a state minister will continuously guide us in learning about ESG. The 4 other participants, and all of them around, with their curricula and solid professional experience, will complete our education in sustainable development. At the end, I hope that by 2013, we will have achieved the SDGs proposed by the UN and thus get prepared to follow a sustainable industrial development. I thank you very much. These are my remarks to start, and I will be with you for some time ahead because I want to hear and learn about more that you have to teach me. Thank you so much, Mr. Izabella Teixeira and the Consul General. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your opening remarks. I feel agree that to have really this innovative way to bring SDGs and also in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals. As you know, Brazil was a key country in proposing Sustainable Development Goals and also as host Rio Plus 20 conference. And I was honored to be part of the high-level panel for the Secretary General that proposed the Sustainable Development Goals and another panel that proposed the post-2015 agenda, now today recognized as Agenda 2030, exactly with the targets, with the goals, and our challenges to bring sustainability into the perspectives of this new century. As you mentioned, private sector innovation is absolutely key. We have this new ages in the world, climate change, climate age, and digital age. And we need to understand also what will be the citizenship that will emerge considering these new ages. Indeed, how the world will come and what is absolutely different in my personal perspective. And that's a big challenge as consider how you propose business, how indeed we manage technology to promote welfare being and also to reduce inequalities. You know that's a big challenge for us. Even we have business in the emerging developing economy, this is a big challenge for private sector. And I also agree that we need to understand better how indeed we bring the think tanks, how we can bring the new ideas, the knowledge. In my personal perspective, considering probably the demand of a new enlightenment, a green enlightenment for the humankind, because humankind needs to have a new relationship with nature. This is what's happening today. So as you mentioned, you have this, we align with the same page, more than this. I think that Casa Firjan, together with CEBRI, we are writing a new chapter, consider this new book, this multicolored book that will host humankind this century. It's not only the green ones, as you know, have the new economy coming. You have not only the green, you have the blues, you have the white economy, consider human rights, democracy, and also care economy, purple economy that is there. So we need to understand how the private sector, ESG's framework, and how indeed will bring development and share not only responsibilities, but also share our innovative way, creative way to bring welfare, to promote welfare around the world. So thank you very much for really a fantastic idea that you bring to us, sharing this perspective of Casa Firjan and also the challenge for Brazilian industry. You know that we have big challenges. And now I'd like to share the screen to my friend, the Consul for Ireland in São Paulo, Eoin Bennis. Please, you have the screen, and I hope that we can have really good debate today. Thank you.
Thank you, Izabella, and thank you to your wonderful team at CEBRI. It really is a great pleasure to be here again with you this morning, I guess for our fourth and unfortunately our final webinar in this series of dynamic exchanges focused on the Sustainable Development Goals and hearing those perspectives from Ireland and Brazil. I guess the one thing about this series, this excellent series on the SDGs, it has really demonstrated the great importance of international partnerships and collaboration, both bilaterally and multilaterally. So again, thank you to CEBRI for this partnership, a partnership that all of us at the Irish Embassy and the Irish Consulate here in Brazil look forward to developing further in the future. Today, I also warmly welcome Casa Firjan and Ambassador Frederico Araújo to this partnership, and thank you for your kind words, Ambassador, just now. I look forward to meeting you in person when the time allows, of course. This rich exchange between Irish and Brazilian stakeholders has provided us with an excellent opportunity to consider how to leverage the achievement of the SDGs here in Brazil. The initiative has shown the great interconnectivity between the different SDGs throughout, and I look forward to the written report that will follow shortly afterwards. Of course, any rich exchange requires excellent participation, and we have been so lucky to have been joined by some wonderful guests from both Brazil and Ireland over the course of this series. Joseph Curtin joined us from New York. Joseph, Director for Power and Climate at the Rockefeller Center. Laura Burke came in from Ireland. She's our Director General of Ireland's Environmental Protections Agency. Daniel Lerda, the Coordinator of the Climate and Land Use Alliance in Brazil, and Deputy Alessandro Molan of the Brazilian Socialist Party, PSB. We were also joined for a very, very wonderful and important event on gender equality with Marina Grossi, the President of the Brazilian Business Council for Sustainable Development, to Andrea Coutinho, journalist, environmentalist, and expert in ethnic racial relations, and a partnership that we're actually developing further with the concept between ourselves and Andrea. And of course, we have Francis Fitzgerald, MEP, and Breed Horan, who co-chairs the Balance for Better Business in Ireland. All of these excellent guests have given us some extremely insightful, informative, and inspirational discussions on the SDGs, in particular on the European Green Deal and the important issue of gender equality. Today's exchange that looks at the leveraging disruptive technologies, innovation, and the creative industry to accelerate the achievement of the SDGs promises to be no different. And with this in mind, I would like to welcome today's guests, bringing their perspectives from Ireland, Alan Keogh, CEO of Crowley Carbon, who joins us from Ireland this morning, or this afternoon, should I say, in Ireland, and his colleague, Ricardo Pires, Vice President of Crowley Carbon's South American operations, who is located here in Brazil. So thank you to both Alan and Ricardo for joining us. Crowley Carbon are one of Ireland's foremost multidisciplinary energy service companies in Ireland, who work with business all over the world to improving production processes, improving energy efficiency, and reducing their carbon footprint to save their clients time, energy, and money. And I look forward to the presentation that will follow shortly from both Alan and Ricardo. A special welcome also to our guest from Brazil, Daniela Sanchez, who is representing Capitales. She's the Director of the Environmental and Social Governance, and Bruno Cecchetti, the Director of Network Technology at Enel Brasil. I really look forward to hearing from you all shortly. The scene, I guess, for today's discussion and our SDG series as a whole was set last November by Ireland's Ambassador to Brazil, Sean Hoy, former Ambassador of Ireland to the UN, David Donoghue, one of the pen holders of the SDGs in 2015, and our excellent moderator today, former Brazilian Minister for Environment, Izabella Teixeira. That dynamic and inspiring exchange left us in no doubt that the pandemic has made the SDGs all the more relevant and urgent than ever, with 2030 fast approaching. For anyone who has not yet had the opportunity to listen to that exchange, you can do so now on the CEBRI podcast. I highly recommend it. A lot of the focus for much of 2020 and 2021 has been on fighting the COVID-19 pandemic and its immediate consequences. However, with the speed of the vaccine development, an impressive reminder of the key role which technology and innovation play in dealing with the new and unknown challenges we face globally, and now vaccination programs being rolled out worldwide, attention is turning to rebuilding our society and the economy in a way which can benefit us all. This, together with the development and introduction of much needed recovery plans, including the EU Green Deal, aimed at bringing sustainable progress and prosperity back, we have a real opportunity to future-proof our economies and societies as a whole. If we are to succeed, we need a strong commitment from all sectors of society. We need transformative change and an ambitious plan-led policy representing us all that will stand up to the vast challenges posed by the number of crises, including COVID, climate, etc., that we currently face. Technology, innovation, and creativity are at the core of this rebuild and are pivotal to the success of the 17 global goals which are interconnected and complex, with no one goal standing in isolation. In this context, today's discussion gives us the perfect opportunity to hear the valuable insights on the importance of technology, innovation, and creativity from some Brazilian and Irish companies and innovators who are leading the way in this area where sustainability is concerned. Some ideas that will be touched on today include the importance of international cooperation to the innovation ecosystem, measures being taken by Brazil and Ireland industries and startups to incorporate the SDGs, the role of disruptive technologies, and of course, social and environmental corporate responsibility. The SDGs have visibility, enthusiasm, commitment across the globe, but ahead of next month's high-level political forum and COP26 in Glasgow next November, a renewed focus on the 2030 agenda that leaves no one behind is more important than ever. The success of the SDGs are a whole of society concern, and we must look at them with a collective responsibility. They cannot be achieved in silos, with the need for collaboration greater than ever, especially as we look to avoid any further backsliding. With this, the UN Global Compact Strategic Partnership on Breakthrough Innovation for the SDGs, next week's UN Global Compact Leaders Summit, and of course the overall post-COVID recovery in mind, policymakers, together with leading companies and businesses, must continue to work on bringing innovative, sustainable investment instruments to the market with breakthrough innovation and disruptive technologies such as circular economy models, artificial intelligence, and big data, all vital. New papers, new concepts, new ideas, and new models are of course all very welcome, but implementation and action must be the result. Where there is political and societal will, collaboration and alignment on plans and policies to incorporate the global goals will ensure we build back better and greener in the wake of the pandemic and beyond as we look to 2030. Reflecting on this, and before I hand back to Izabella to bring forward today's discussion, I would like to recall for you the words of Ireland's former UN Ambassador David Donoghue, who at the outset of this series noted, "The SDGs are a blueprint for creating a better, more resilient world that is more inclusive and greener, with now the time to rebuild from COVID-19 on the basis of this very blueprint." Enjoy the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my friend. I think that you have really excellent points, not only because you bring the new perspectives or the challenges for new perspectives, consider Agenda 2030, and exactly the momentum that you have this year, consider COP15 on biodiversity, climate change, COP26, food summits, G7 meeting, G20 meeting. You have different meetings around the world this year that are absolutely critical to address the new perspectives, consider sustainability challenges, as I mentioned before, the new relationship between humankind and nature. We cannot forget that next year you have probably, I think so, the Stockholm +50 conference. So after 50 years, and after 50 years of the anniversary of UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, we'll be discussing exactly the future, how challenging the future is, and what will be the new challenges for international cooperation, and not only for the multilateralism. And again, Sustainable Development Goals, they are in the core of the debate. And we cannot forget also that what's coming, it's a new debate about planetary boundaries and indeed how humankind is going into this. It's absolutely important to understand, for example, the carbon inequality, if I can use this expression, when we compare that a man, a citizen that lives in Roraima in Amazon region has a carbon footprint 6 times bigger than the man that lives in Sydney in Australia. But when you compare planetary boundaries, the citizenship of Australia goes beyond the limits of the planet in different perspectives. You can check all the reports that have this. And you have an unfair development in Brazil because this carbon footprint And for this man in the state of Roraima in Brazil, it's based on emissions related to deforestation. And deforestation is a legal activity, and so without no economic and social gains. So we need to understand better these dynamics, my friend, in such a way that you can address, based on realities and consider local needs, the new to reframe better the challenge considered the international cooperation. And why? Because the global crisis must be addressed for everyone. Okay, we are interconnected. And what we are today seeing consider the pandemic crisis, that unfortunately the international system doesn't have all the tools to face or to tackle international crisis. We are living this. We have now vaccines inequalities around the world. So it's something that really doesn't make sense, not only short-term perspective, but also long-term perspectives. We need indeed to review and to understand better when you mention economic growth, what you want. If decoupling is a strategy, you need to understand the role of natural resource management. We don't have natural resource enough to address the demands of 10 billion people living this planet. We need to review our way to live and our way to produce, to have incomes, to promote job, and as you mentioned, and also the ambassador, the new digital age that's coming, okay, and that will be so transformative. So big challenges, because you have nature one side of the coin, and another side of the coin you have the man, because you have digital economy and you have climate economy. So it's fascinating how what's the dimension, the political, geopolitical dimension that humankind needs to face today, considering the power of the humankind. For example, digital economy, it's critical innovation, everything that the man is able to create, and the other side, how the nature is put the pressure on our shoulders. This is very fascinating, very difficult, tricky sometimes, and also for geopolitical and geoeconomic arrangements, I do believe that the diplomacy, the new diplomacy that will emerge to, or the new demands for global diplomacy, for international diplomacy to manage this. It's only to end, because we need to go to our panelists, sorry. Remember that when you go, when you approach countries for Amazon region, Amazon basin, Brazil is one of these, we are middle income countries. But when you go into the Amazon region, consider these countries, and you check the indicators there, it's the same of low income countries. Okay, this is how we need to change our lens if you want to go into to understand better the roots of the problems, if you want to address concrete solutions. So if I go to the international community today to access funds for Amazon countries, this will be based on middle income countries requirements, not based on low income country requirements. And Amazon, as you know, is really a key asset for humankind if you want to tackle not only climate change, to have climate stability around the world. So it's a different way. We need to understand better the role of the environmental assets, considering the challenge of humankind this century. And the Sustainable Development Goals, in my personal perspective, is a really innovative way of something really interesting to illustrate, to allow everyone, each society, to move forward to the future based on their realities, based on their choices. It's very important, but also conciliating perspectives and vision in a shared framework of sustainability. This is very important because my feeling is that you need to push this agenda strategically, considering not only the net zero run by 2050, but also how we can bring biodiversity laws and also natural resource management together in an innovative way. We need to understand these new requirements of nature. If not, probably we'll face uncertainties and also risks and vulnerabilities that will be a big challenge for humankind. You cannot forget that you can never control nature, never. And you know that you have environmentalists used to say that God forgives, the man forgives, but nature never forgives. Don't forget it. Okay, so let's back to the panel. Let's see the panelists, sorry. And Ambassador, I know that you have to leave us. Thank you very much for joining us in this first session.
You may count on us to follow with you wherever you want to go. This is the major point, major interest of the world. And you count on Casa Firjan, which is looking for the future. I will hear whatever is going to be discussed here by the registrant or by CEBRI, but you will always come with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Nice to see you. Have a nice weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, my dear Consul, I forgot. I commit a mistake here because I didn't mention before that we have this event in English, also Brazilian English, okay? And I forgot that to make clear that you have the translation for Portuguese available. Please, only the people you can check in the chat box who have the link to access the translation to Portuguese. And also all the meeting participants are muted throughout this meeting, the debates, but any questions during the debate, please use Q&A session that you should be typed in the chat box in such a way that you can manage these questions here. So this panel, as I mentioned before, has the main goals to analyze Sustainable Development Goal 9, focused on industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Some questions to be addressed are: what needs to change in Brazilian regulatory framework and in the modus operandi of the private sector to foster the creation of innovation ecosystems in Brazil? How can international cooperation scale up the ecosystems and promote its integration into global value chains? What measures are being taken by Brazilian industry and startups to incorporate the Sustainable Development Goals into their business plans, or as mentioned, ESG strategies? In which ways are businesses changing their behavior to incorporate new paradigms regarding social and environmental corporate responsibility? And what lessons can Brazil learn from international experience, meaning Irish experience? So, as I mentioned before, and also as the Consul introduced them before, I invite for the first block of the debate, 10 minutes for each one, Alan Kehoe and also Ricardo Pires to have the screen. So Alan, be welcome. Okay, Alan is a technical and commercial, have been working both in technical and commercial sides of energy and renewable sector in both Ireland and UK. And he brings a unique blend of expertise to the role of sales director. It's very important. He has really impressive experience in different companies. And now I invite him to have this debate now, to have the floor, sorry. Today is the CEO at Crowley Carbon. Please, Alan, I know that you have a presentation, consider the Cool Planet Group, okay, and discussion leverage disruptive technologies. And after you, I invite Ricardo Pires, okay, the Vice President for South America Operation for Crowley Carbon, exactly to explain considered Brazilian and also South America perspectives. Please, Alan, be welcome. I do apologize because I think that I pronounced your last name based on Brazilian, considered Brazilian accent. I'm sorry, okay. And but I'm very honored to have opportunity to meet you and also to learn with your experience. You have the screen in 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for your kind words, Izabella, and Consul General and Ambassador who's left, but thanks for the introductions and your opening remarks. Just to say, I've been a mechanical engineer for 22 years now, and one of my first jobs was in Brazil, actually, where I worked installing gas turbines on the gas line from Bolivia to Sao Paulo back in 1999, I think it was, so a long time ago. So my relationship with Brazil is a long time now, and I've been back to Brazil many times working with Ricardo over the last couple of years as well. So working in the fossil fuel industry, unfortunately, is where I started, but I've seen the error of my ways and now work in energy efficiency and sustainability. So just to give you a very short introduction as to who Crowley Carbon are, we're part of a group of companies which we call the Cool Planet Group, and it's hopefully obvious what our purpose in life is to demonstrate leadership in the area of climate change, and we do that across three main activities in our business. And the first is energy. The second is transportation, whereby we have an electric car company, small company compared to Tesla, but growing quite rapidly. And the third very important part of our group of companies is the education part of our company, whereby we educate children in a very positive way about climate change and what they can do about it. And there is solutions. It's not a terrible situation. We can do something about it, and they can annoy their parents to buy electric cars or to recycle. But the main group of companies that I'm talking to you today about from is Crowley Carbon. Crowley Carbon has been in the business of delivering energy efficiency in industrial plants over the last 12 years or so. And for most of those 12 years, it's been a very lonely journey. We were probably pioneers in this area, and really for a long time, a lot of the world was not very interested in energy efficiency or sustainability. But over the past 6 months or so, especially, we think we feel a changing of the situation and the economy and people's attitudes towards carbon and sustainability and climate change brought on by the pandemic. And we hope that we can be a big part of that transformation going forward. In terms of digital technologies and digitalization, we have a product as part of Crowley Carbon, which we call Clarity, which is an IIoT, big data, Industry 4.0 software platform that allows plant managers to optimize their plants dynamically, use less energy, but also maximize their output, which is energy efficient also. And we also have a solar arm whereby we install solar plants on rooftops and fields outside factories. So that's just a very brief introduction. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is digitalization in the context of sustainability and energy efficiency, and really how it's been a bit of a failure so far in our experience. Big data, Industry 4.0, machine learning, artificial intelligence, there's lots of buzzwords that we hear about these technologies. They really haven't been widely adopted by industry over the past couple of years, even though they're getting cheaper and cheaper and more powerful and more powerful. And the way we look at the adoption of these technologies, including our product Clarity, is through the technology lifecycle adoption curve, which was invented by a guy called Geoffrey Moore when he wrote his book. It's a seminal book on strategy and marketing, probably about 25 years ago. And he looked at different technologies and products and how some succeeded and how others didn't succeed. And he divided up the marketplace of potential buyers of new technologies into 5 main areas, which he called the innovators, the early adopters, the pragmatists, the conservatives, and the skeptics. Now, the skeptics are people who would like to go back to using Nokia or Motorola mobile phones, and they just don't want to move to new technologies. They're very comfortable with what they have. Early adopters and innovators are people who believe in the why, that technology can change the world and make it better. And they can get a lot of advantage themselves if they bring new technologies into their companies. Pragmatists and conservatives are where most of the market is. People who don't want to jump too early. They want to make sure that it's, there's no risk to them. And if you take the example of electric cars are moving into the mainstream in Europe and the US. But up to now, most of the people who've bought electric cars have been early adopters, and they believe in the why of electric cars and moving towards sustainable transport. And really what we want to try and do is figure out how do we bring big data, Industry 4.0 into the mainstream of industrial facilities, because factories have been using the same technologies that have been available for the past 30 years. PLC, SCADA systems, spreadsheets is generally what engineers use to optimize plants, if they do optimize the plant. So our mission is to bring big data into the mainstream. And Geoffrey Moore wrote about two main principles of winning the mainstream. The first was that you have to win a beachhead. So when you're trying to cross this, what he called the chasm, he basically said that a lot of technologies fail, they fall into the chasm here, they never make it to the mainstream. But if you want to make it to the mainstream, you have to win a beachhead, and you have to have a whole product that people, pragmatists and conservatives will feel secure about. For example, if you buy an electric car, you want to make sure you have a charging infrastructure. So when you drive from one city to another, you don't run out of electricity. So in our view, energy efficiency and sustainability is a beachhead for big data industry 4.0. And we can use this as a beachhead to go to industry and to enterprises, big complex factories, and say, here's a beachhead to bring big data and energy efficiency into our big data and industry IoT into your factory, into your enterprise to make it more efficient. But there's lots of things you can do with it. You can do maintenance improvements, you can do production improvements, but you need to pick one, and that one is energy efficiency and sustainability, because it's not that political. You know, changing processes in factories can become very political because, you know, it's where the money is. So there's a lot of people involved, a lot of politics involved, but energy is less so. The paybacks tend to be very good. It's very easy to demonstrate value of a big data approach when you're doing energy efficiency. You can show that the energy consumption has reduced, and it's possible to build that whole product solution that people want and need to feel secure when they're purchasing a big data solution or product. So the other thing that Geoffrey Moore talked about was having a whole product. So in the case of electric cars, the whole product is, well, if I buy a Tesla, I want to make sure that I can charge it up when I go on a long journey. If it breaks down, I want to be able to go to a local Tesla garage to get it fixed and maintained. If I don't have those things, I won't feel comfortable buying that Tesla because I don't feel secure. And it's the same in big data in industry. We've got to tick a lot of boxes to make those conservative buyers in industry feel comfortable that we will solve their problem completely, and we won't leave them in the lurch or leave them with a gap in the solution that they have to fill themselves. And that whole product is all of these things, and I won't go through them all in detail, but it's being able to integrate with lots of different systems around the factory. So the quality control system, the ERP system, the boiler system, the air compressors, integrate with all those systems, bring the data together in one place. You have to engage the user. So you have to have a product that's nice to use. We're all very used to using good software these days, Netflix and Amazon, where the user experience is very good. And that same user experience has to be in the factory as well, because people are used to using good software at home, whether it's Netflix or Amazon or whatever the software is, and they want that same experience in their working life as well. And they don't want to put up with software that's not very good. You got to be able to demonstrate the value that the big data solution is bringing. So every day, what have you done for me lately? Showing the energy savings, showing the production increase, showing the maintenance improvements. So that's on a dashboard that everybody can see very clearly. And also you have to have modular capabilities so that you can expand it quite easily. So the workflow that industry wants to be able to deliver energy efficiency and sustainability looks like this, where you gather data, bring it together, identify opportunities, and then take some action, and then make sure that action is sustained over long periods of time. The problem with energy efficiency sometimes is you can make some savings, and then you go back and check the savings 2 years later, and the savings are gone because people change set points and they don't maintain the plant. So what we see a lot is all these data sources here that are available in the factory are collected manually, entered into a spreadsheet system. They go to various different people around the factory. There's no one central person that's bringing it all together. The whole process takes a very long time, maybe 30 days to generate a report. It's very difficult at that point to identify problems and opportunities. It's very difficult to take some action, either whether that action is operational change or CapEx investments, because you don't have the data. And it's very difficult to confirm the effect of those savings and that value being delivered. And it's very difficult to maintain the effect over the long term. So the solution to this is this. and this is an Industry 4.0 IIoT solution, whereby you have very high frequency automated data collection and correlation, low cost sensors around the factory, bringing all that data together up to a central powerful analytics platform, analyzing the data, spitting out opportunities that experts can look at the opportunities, implement some machine learning or artificial intelligence, take some action, whether that's operational change or investment in capital, and then implement projects, deliver projects using the data-led approach, and building a flywheel over 10 years that continually spins up and generates opportunities to be delivered. So I'm going to stop talking now. You'll be glad to hear, and I'm going to let Ricardo just talk for the last few minutes.
Thank you, Alan. Please, Ricardo.
So good morning, good afternoon to all. First, I would like to thank CEBRI, Consulate of Ireland in São Paulo, plus Enterprise Ireland, who supported us since day one with Melissa, and Firjan, for sure, for the invitation. It's an honor to be shared this panel with Daniela, Bruno, and our host, Minister Izabella, Ambassador Frederico, who left us, and Consul Eoin Bennis. And of course, it's a pleasure to have working and the opportunity to work for Alan Kyo, which is present reinforcing the opportunity and the importance of this debate in the current scenario. My name is Ricardo Pires. I'm responsible for Brazilian carbon subsidiary, more specifically to deal with Brazilian business complexity, as we all know, and managing projects and clients in Latin America. At the current moment, linked to all this instability, we also need to be prepared for the post-pandemic times, which remembers me my Chilean passenger careers. My boss started here in Brazil. I started in Chile in the beginning of the 90s. I lived there for almost 5 years, and it was a very challenging time for the local industry, as you all know, with the Pinochet and everything else. But now the Brazilian industry is not only facing the several challenges due increasing of competitive environment, but also the sustainability must be included in this new future, which are not talking about a new normal because it's a completely new future that we are facing, which is much accelerated by COVID-19 crisis, which is mentioned by Alan, that all the industry are facing that. And the normal answer, as we can see on the screen, is Industry 4.0, which is the normal answer to this equation, as all engineers. But as we know, Industry 4.0 brings new challenges as open architecture, cybersecurity, risk of reputation of the company's industries. But the utilization of the world's best experts is mandatory for this new world and new future, because little usage of industry sector due its costs. In Brazil, we are also trying to use the local industries to avoid this high cost. But now with digitalization, this became the new leverage. So all this is available just in a click. So we need to use it as this continuous improvement loop as highlighted by Alan. This productivity is easily measurable and fully traceable in time. Alan, if you can go to the another slide, please. As you can see, here is only one type of demonstration to move from one side and to go for the new, to bring more people. The energy is a very good entry with, for sure, sustainability. So it's very easy to track and to measure and to have a very good payback with all the industries looking for. So in our point of view, it strengthens the competitiveness and industry digitalization, both of them forming sustainability. And in Brazilian terms, do more with less. And this is what Industry 4.0 belongs to us. So I'm going to stop it here now and thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Ricardo, and also Alan for your presentation. I understand, I like too much the idea, how you presented the challenges considering energy transition and also bring together energy efficiency and also transportation And Alan, when you highlighted education, it's absolutely important for us in Brazil, not only considering the perspective that you share with us, but also the big challenges that the private sector, not only Brazil, in South America, but I do believe around the world, that the private financial sector have, considering the demands of political and economic and innovation, education, and climate age. Indeed, everyone's used to talk about this, but not necessarily we can be sure that everyone is so educated and consider policymakers also to address climate crisis. It's very important to understand the new values that are coming. As you mentioned, consider the new Green Deals, and that's as the Council mentioned, the new Green Deal in Europe, and also in the Green Deal in the United States, or ecological civilization in China. We have different perspectives and also different ways to approach values, as I mentioned before, that demands that orient the new relation between humankind and nature. I like too much, and it's impressive. I always try to understand this better when you mention big data approach. And this is really a new world. And I love when you have these different categories. It was amazing. And how indeed, it is amazing how indeed you have the pragmatists and the conservatives, more than half of the scenarios. And my feeling is that with post-COVID crisis, probably these scenarios will change. Okay, because as Ricardo mentioned, and you also, COVID pandemic is not showing us what the challenges that we have today. I consider a global crisis that we are not prepared, but also that we don't have new normals. We have new futures, new stories must be told. You need to tell new stories based on the future, and also in my perspectives, I do believe that COVID crisis brought the future to the present. I'm sorry, but discuss future today means that we're discussing today. I remember my generation, last century, when we discussed the end of this century now, oh, it's so saying that it's untouchable, intangible. And if you have a baby today, they'll be alive in the end of the century. So probably there will be a high probability that will be alive. So it's very important to understand that we discuss the future means to discuss today. That's what I like too much how both of you present these challenges, consider the industry 4.0, and also how we need to approach the post-pandemic times, Ricardo, as you illustrate to us. I'd like to now to invite the other side of the coin, because I will invite to have a woman on the floor. Daniela Sanchez, she is responsible for the institutional relations, ESGs, and regulatory legal areas at Capitalism. She has a huge experience in consumer financial sector. She started her career at Banco Pactual, worked for 13 years at the Banco Votorantim. She knows a lot about financial sector, I do hope. I don't know anything about finance. I'm so amazing to have a woman that knows how to manage this and to understand better the challenge, how we come in the financial world. And after the Green Swan report, when this brought in 2020 the risks and vulnerability for the global financial system based on the climate change, and this is changing everything, okay? And how impressive you have really new dynamics from the financial sector. Together, she also has a huge experience considering trade, okay, rules considered trade, and also agribusiness. So in the first debate was based on the energy, and now we go into agriculture, and I'm trying to push here, okay, Daniela, because land use, it's an important agenda for developing emerging economies, and not only as for Brazil, okay? And when you go into the emerging economies and try to track the carbon emissions and the challenges to net zero emissions, beyond deforestation, and talk about the economic carbon. For deforestation in Brazil is no economic carbon, because this is illegal. So no value, no economic value, no social value, no public value indeed. So when you go into the formal world, the economy world, we need to understand the challenge of how we can cut emissions and also how we can promote adaptation. Technologies are absolutely critical. And for land use, Brazil has a huge experience, because indeed Brazil, as you know, 45 years ago, we were a country that import food. And today we are one of the most important food producers around the world. And more than this, you have technologies for tropical agriculture to face and to be competitive, considering low carbon agriculture around the world. And also subsidies in our agriculture, we changed this more than 20 years ago. Okay, it's very important to based on the experience of your lens, if I can use this expression, and also as you have a law degree, nobody's perfect, I do agree, but it's very important because you have this perspective of regulatory arrangements that should be closer and closer and closer, consider this new world that's coming based on innovation, and also how engineer, as Ricardo and Alan make clear for us. Ricardo also has, if I understand, he had an experience in Bung in the past. Okay, I didn't mention this. This is one of the most important agri-food companies around the world. But Daniela, she has also, this experience on commercial law, and she teaches in the Túlio Vargas Foundation and also in INISP. So she's really close to what's changing today in Brazil, what's the private sector is coming, and how the private sector should come, how it's coming, how it should come, and how it must come. Okay, if you understand the global crisis and how indeed Brazil and in South America, but meaning your experience in Brazil is very important. And I wanted the challenge to bring financial sector together with private sector into these new perspectives. So I'm sorry, I mentioned that she has an experience in agribusiness, I'm not sure, but she has an experience in financial sector. So who has experience in financial sector in Brazil today must know a lot about land use and must lot about the challenges of one of the key industry in Brazil, even for bioeconomy. When you mentioned, for example, stand-up forests, bioeconomy, when you mentioned that we're looking forward to increase our international trade based on forest products like açaí and also cacao, this means agro products, this means agriculture, okay, in the new perspectives, or it also means agriculture in the new perspectives. So how we can connect the end of hunger, how we can understand about food security, how indeed Sustainable Development Goals in the end, the SDGs will be closer enough to move forward and to have a disruptive process in a positive way, no, not in a negative way as pandemic is showing to us. So please, Daniela, be welcome. It's my honor to meet you, okay? And you have the screen. I hope that you'll be so provocative, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Izabella. It's my honor to be here in this panel and share this opportunity to talk with you, your Minister and Mr. Ambassador who already left us, and Consul of Ireland. Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor for me and Capitalis to talk here with you and with the other panelists. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, indeed, as you said, there's a lot of challenges in the financial sector, considering the climate changes issues. And I understand when you say that nature does not forgive, I totally agree with that. And I understand also that to organize that and to avoid to hurt nature and more changes, I think that we need to go through education. Education is the key process to avoid that. And in financial sector, we have a huge opportunity to create this positive education. in capitalism specifically, we are focused on micro, small, and medium companies, financing those companies through, as we call, a sustainable credit. And we understand that through the sustainable credit, we develop those companies and we promote them to better opportunities. Our next challenge in this process, in my opinion, is to create the sense in those companies of the importance, how relevant it is to have a good and sustainable process on their business. And sometimes due to the size or in the position they are in the beginning of, in the base of the economy, sometimes it's hard to create that sensibility on them. So I think we need to promote more education, and we need to create that consciousness on those companies. It is a huge challenge. Well, there are another forms to promote that. I think through net zero carbon, as we say here, was already said here, carbon zero is also a possibility to do that. We may induce them to adopt that idea, or the bigger asset managers, as one of them are already doing, may net those portfolios by themselves, by their initiatives. We are huge asset managers doing that. And considering the climate change, I think that through education, net zero, and good practices in general, creating this culture in the business ambient market, it is a good opportunity to improve that. But we are having a huge help from our regulators, because we are having now some new regulatory frames from the Central Bank of Brazil, for example, which proposed in public audience, which ended in the last month, how to regulate how the financial institutions should consider the climate, environmental, and social risks in the way that they do credit. So we shifted from the climate problem to an economy problem. The climate issue, the environmental issue, the social issue are now economic issues. They must be evaluated and considering in the risk of the companies in the future rule, which is going to be issued by the central bank. It is not effective now. It will be effective in some months. I think this will be a huge change in the financial market. In the capital markets, there is also an important change coming, because Comissão de Valores Mobiliários, CVM, also is creating a new rule in the base of comply or explain for open companies, explain what they do about ESG aspects in those companies, and if they do, they don't, why they don't, what they are doing. So it is a more provocative way to positioning the companies. And so I think companies also will need to do something, because it is not good to say we are not doing anything. And I think in the agribusiness, market, there are also good things coming, because recently a new law was approved considering creating the FIAGRO. FIAGRO is an investment fund focused in the agribusiness, and the new rule is a really there is a huge it encompasses the whole agri-industry chain, since the defensives until the final products. Is a huge chain involved in that financing and in that fund. It is not mentioned in that rule nothing related to ESG aspects, but the agro industry, it is concerned about that, because investors are pressuring for that. The more and more we listen from our investors, what we are doing to check the ESG aspects in our portfolios, in ourselves, in our companies, and there is a pressure from investors about that. What we think also, coming back to the education and development about micro, small, and medium companies, we understand that technology and innovation are the key for some changes, but the change of culture, the education, it is one of the most important aspects of that change. I believe that the next generation, our sons, for example, they are much more conscious than ourselves. But to change now, and COVID pandemics brought the huge impact and created the sense of urgency that we need to face that situation. It is an opportunity to promote this change quickly. What else can I say? Is that the financial inclusion as an aspect of development, and the access of credit to everyone, indeed, who has access in a financial institution or not, it is also an important aspect of development and increase of access to the financial market. The new incumbents focus in certain special markets. Special markets are big promoters of that change. There is a kind of, how can I say that? There's a kind of this consolidation. I don't know if this is correct to say, but the financing is being spread through new challengers, not through the incumbents in that market. Well, I believe that the new rules, as I said, are capable to promote huge change. I am very my feeling is very positive about that, because since the financing has the premise to consider the climate, environmental, and social aspects in the risk, I believe that we will promote everything will be evaluated. So the known what is not appropriate, what is not good for the environment will be expensive. That's the point. So, Minister Izabella, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for the time, and I think it is.
Thank you very much. I think that you have, Daniela, really good points when you mentioned the role of education and how strategic this is to change behavior and also to understand the new perspective and dimension of responsibility means or core or share responsibility means, and the financial sector is coming with considered new demands. Not only to access credit, it's not only, what's interesting that I observed that you use value, not pricing. And this is very important because you have different ways to approach, and you have, of course, a dispute of price and tax, but indeed behind the scenes, we're looking for something really important. That means values, and values is used to guide societies, and it's like a new ethical that's coming probably around the world, and not necessarily this will be managed in short-term perspectives, but it means that this is coming. Okay, and I like too much when you express your positive feelings. So based on your pragmatism, your optimism, woman, it's very important because this is a moment in the world that optimism is something really challenges for us. Okay, and when you mentioned central bank in Brazil, it is really interesting because we need to understand how risk and vulnerability we approach, not only consider the environment, but also social and climate aspects for the financial sector in Brazil, and then also for the companies. And this will also influence, or should influence, how Brazil will update and or raise its ambition as a country, and not only as a government, but as a country, consider the net zero run for net zero by 2050 or early. Brazil has really some competitive sectors, in my personal opinion, that should establish its commitments early, not only by 2050, because we need to discuss how Brazil wants to be competitive. Okay, and in the new world that is coming, what net zero world, indeed, what it means for a country like Brazil. That's, I think that it's a good point also when you mention capital sector, and it's not only financial sector, the capital ones, how CVM is working hard, we're looking forward to be part of the world. It's very important that you can have the rules, the regulatory arrangements without demanding additional barriers. Brazil needs a leapfrog. Okay, from the past to the future, not to the present to the future. We need to remove the past with consider the barriers and our mindset to be part of the business in the 21st century. My feeling is that to have a huge challenge, as you mentioned, consider culture, behavior, and also political behavior. That's something very important. Ag business, as you mentioned, really, and I like to make that you mentioned FEAGRO. It's very good. And indeed, how small, micro, and small and medium companies should come in together, not only, and you cannot forget not only the big ones, the big challenge that you have today also for small farmers in Brazil. Okay, and the trends, the new trends of nature positive agriculture, and how we did host this. So my feeling is that private sector is moving, not necessarily in the financial sector also, not necessarily with the dynamics that you need, but it's very important moving. What is not clear is the political class is doing the same here in Brazil. But it's something that due to debate another perspective, I like to invite Bruno. Where is Bruno? Bruno Cecchetti. He's Managing Director of Network Technology for Enel Infrastructure and Networks of Brazil, with responsibilities of technologies development and application for the distribution business, serving more than 17 million customers in Brazil. Here's something very important that probably Bruno will make clear for us: the role of the market demand, the consumers, to influence the change. Okay, and you know that we have managed this, and you know the pressure that's coming from the consumers, meaning the new generation, to change, and to change faster. than in the past. And he's also participant of May, Business Mobilization for Innovation of the Brazilian Confederation, Brazilian Industry Confederation. He's also a member of the work group of research and development activities with ABRADI, that's the Brazilian Association of Electricity Distribution. Bruno, I know that you hold a graduation diploma in production engineering from Rio de Janeiro Federal University, and also MBA in general business. And also, you know a lot about innovation and corporate entrepreneurship. And you have leadership for energy management course in EES and SDA Bocconi. So you have the floor. I cannot see you, but I know that you are with us.
Here.
Oh, thank you, Bruno. Thank you very much. I can see you finally. And please, you have the screen. Thank you very much for joining us, not only to dialogue, but based on your perspectives, your experience, I know that you can be more provocative than Ricardo, for example, that made some really important inputs for our debate. Please, you have the floor, and my honor to meet you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Izabella. Thank you, CEBRI, Firjan, for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to present Enel strategy and Enel projects related to the SDG challenges. First of all, if we take a look at Enel global strategy, it's totally oriented to the energy transition through Industry 4.0. And in this case, for us, the levers are decarbonization, electrification, digitization, and urbanization. So when we think of those concepts, we are already talking about the SDGs. For example, 7, 9, 11 are at the core of this strategy. For us to deliver this big challenge, we believe, as it's too ambitious, that we can't do it alone. So Enel has a very strong approach to cooperation, learning, and exchanging with different partners. And for this reason, we say that we are open. We call ourselves open power, okay? And on top of it, one very interesting thing that we did, we fused together innovation and sustainability. And now we came with a DNA of open innovability. So innovation, sustainability together. And for this reason, we can say that we also work very close to the SDG 17, which is partnership for the goals. Okay, and now that's the overall strategy of Enel, very much related to the SDGs goals. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the projects, two important projects that we are developing inside Enel, especially in São Paulo, which we can say it's for the distribution of the future. Okay, the two of them are called Urban Futurability and the Smart Meter Project. We are investing more than 250 million reais for the projects, and it's a co-financing with the Enel R&D funds program, which is a very, very important program that is able for us to leverage and work with them to enhance and to foster innovation within Brazil. Okay, and all of those, I think it's important to mention, has everything to do with the Industry 4.0, as I'm going to mention. So the first project is the Urban Futurability. The objective is to make as much as we can the distribution company digital. So we are providing, we have some layers. The first layer is what we call the digital modeling, that we are going to use thermal cameras, GPS with cameras to do a digital model of the network of the distribution company and include a lot of sensoring around the area. We are doing the project in Vila Olímpia, in the heart of commercial and financial heart of São Paulo. And there we are going to have, so all the modeling with information, which is beyond the human capacity, because we are putting, for example, thermal cameras that are going to find hot spots in the network and anticipate the need of maintenance, and also the sensoring to know how the equipments are working on a real-time basis. On top of it, so the second layer we are going to build computer vision. Computer vision is the sum of artificial intelligence with machine learning, oriented to learning from this sensoring and from these images to do a leapfrog on our capacity to support operation and to anticipate emergency maintenance and problems in the network, making the network more sustainable and reliant. Okay, the third level is what we call the workforce enhancement, with all this technology related to give support to the operation. We also bring new technology, for example, with virtual reality and also augmented reality. When the operators in the field or in the control room, they can use much more access to information related to the needs to maintain the assets in the field. The last level, which has again to do with the SDG 17, is what we call API economy. So we are doing a big platform database with a lot of information that we believe it doesn't fit only for this distribution company. So for sure, we have all this data, and we can provide further services and relationships that can support a more smart city approach for the municipality, for other utilities, and also other companies, startups, customer association, and the whole infrastructure management environment of the smart city. Okay, if we consider the perspective of sustainability and circular, inside our project we have, and we are bringing a much less invasive processes to do interventions on the network. We try to reduce the amount of material that we are applying, and we bring as much as we can recycled and circular approach to these materials that we use. We are also doing a stakeholders mapping in terms of sustainability, economic needs, environmental needs, and we have a sustainability dashboard that tracks all the impacts related to circular and to sustainability. So this project brings also the capacity to improve the quality of job generation, economic growth, reduction of emissions, high quality education related to the Industry 4.0. We bring more safety to our operators, to field crew, and also for the population. And also we give the opportunity to get much more energy efficiency out of the project. The second project that I mentioned, it was a smart meter. The smart meter is very important because it's the enabler, the base route for us to put the digitalization in the core of the distribution. So at this time, for example, for the perspective of the customer, they can now track their consumption on a regular basis. They can change their habits and bring more energy efficiency and also economic measures for themselves. At the same time, have a much closer, a much better approach and relationship with the distribution company. On the other part, regarding our operational activities, we can get a much better, much more information out of this metering on a regular basis, the information for us to have a better planning, a better activities efficiency related benefits, and also for the society and the regulatory framework. We can use this kind of information to bring new tariff schemes, new services, and new opportunities in the context of the needs of society. So for this reason, if we consider those big two projects, they are much related to the SDGs, and we can say that it brings benefits directly to SDG 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, and 17. So those are very good examples of Industry 4.0 towards energy transition that for sure we are going to see in the electricity sector, and it's going to be a big innovation that we are going to see in the coming years. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bruno. It's fantastic. I hope that after I get my second vaccine dose, when I go to São Paulo, I'd like to learn more about this project in Vila Olímpia. And I like the idea of innovability, is this, you understand? And also know that I'm the co-chair of the International Resource Panel of UNEP. It's exactly the scientific panel in charge of circular economy and also material efficiency. So I'm very interested to learn more about, as you mentioned, this strategy to decoupling and also and to have economic growth and competitiveness, etc. And indeed, how circularity is coming closer to your business strategy and how innovation is really interesting. Okay, but this is, unfortunately, don't have much time to manage this agenda today. Of course, I had to have some questions from our audience. I wanted to illustrate to Daniela one question. Daniela, you don't have the opportunity to answer now, but if you allow me, I'd like to suggest that Mariana from CEBRI, we can support you to answer to answer to Claudia Guimarães that ask you about the next 10 years will be critical for climate action, and what you do then will determine to the extent of climate change our children will need to endure. In practice, what the Brazilian financial sector needs to achieve the next decade. It's a good question, because if you want to consolidate, we are interconnected. If you want to have a strategic perspective for net zero, for example, Brazil, unfortunately, today doesn't have transparency that such way they can know more about the Brazilian strategy to put in practice the NDCs and the Paris Agreement commitments. So if it's don't have transparency, don't know how we are looking for to connect things, indeed, how Brazil, what to be the key contribution for Brazil for low carbon global economy, and also what's the role and the role and responsibility of financial sector, consider the efforts that we're looking for to promote. It's a good question. I hope that you can answer using the email, and I'm sure that CEBRI's staff will support you. I'd like to say
I just answered the question.
Oh, excellent! Oh, excellent! So excellent. I cannot see.
I just answered.
Excellent. So thank you very much. Okay, and I'd like to thank you very much again, Alan, Ricardo, Daniela, and Bruno. It was really for me I learned a lot, because this really, you brought different perspectives and how indeed we can connect things and what's happened today in Brazil, even considering the pandemic crisis. I'd like to remember that our first event, we have a fireside chat with Ambassador Shanghai and Ambassador Davi Donhan, with highlight the importance of Brazil and Ireland in the process of the Agenda 2030 negotiations. We also identify the learning by the experience of others that can be powerful to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. It was the political debate. I was fully in charge. I had to debate this. And as I was a member of the panels, of the both panels that proposed Sustainable Development Goals, and also the Ambassador UN system, it was very interesting debate. I'd like to thank you very much for the opportunity to dialogue with him. The second panel, the focus was on the European Green New Deal, and we tried to answer the question how we can learn with European Green Deals to assure green recovery after COVID. And you have different realities, and meaning that the Green Deal, European Green Deal is based on the values, European values. It's what's very important. It is different from what's happened today in American Green Deal. We have social justice and environmental justice. And you go to ecological civilizatory in China, you have different perspectives. And also in Brazil, when we're discussing now green recovery, for example, Amazon region development based on the consortium of the governors of Amazon, you have a green plan of recovery that we're discussing today. It's impressive what are the values that we are sharing when you go into the global community. This is very important that we have the different perspectives. The third debate, the third panel, the third webinar was we celebrate together the International Women's Day and talk about the importance of gender equality as we expressed in the Sustainable Development Goals 5. We conclude that gender, race, social, class, and occupation should be a central concern in all sustainability plans. It was really a fantastic debate. We have different generations okay, Black woman, fantastic congresswoman from Ireland. It's fantastic. It was really good debate. And the last one is this, for me, it was really good, excellent. And I'd like to say that the report that summarizes the webcast series debate will be available in the CEBRI's website soon. Okay, so you can access this in English and Portuguese with summarize the key debates and outcomes, as I mentioned. And I'd like finally to thank you very much to the Consulate of Ireland and also Firjan for the partnership. I hold back to the Council, but my last comments here is that I'd like to thank you very much CEBRI staff under the leadership of Mariana Albuquerque. She's a building block for this process. Thank you very much, Mariana. And also she's so talented. She was able to manage my time. This is something that I cannot do, and she was able to do this. It's impressive. And also the Deputy Consul of Ireland, São Paulo, Jill. Jill is a good friend. The first dialogue when we met before pandemic is impressive to discuss the idea to have this partnership between CEBRI and the Consulate of Ireland in Brazil, in São Paulo. So I'd like to thank you very much for everyone, also for Firjan, for the support and for the partnership. And I have to hold back to the Consul for the final remarks and hope that you have really happy Valentine's Day, good, happy weekend. Okay, be sure that we are together in the right direction to have a better road, but we need to work a lot. And I'm very happy that we can learn with Brazilians and also we Ireland with this fantastic experience, how it's changing. And when I look back 35 years ago, when I started discussing this agenda, it was on a group of 10 people around the world that, okay, you need to discuss this. We need to discuss it. And now we need to make this. This is different. Okay, thank you very much again. And please, Ambassador Eoin, you have the floor, you have the screen, and my respect. Thank you very much. And my friendship.
Thank you, Izabella. And absolutely, I return that friendship, and I look forward to meeting in person when the time allows, I guess. But listen, just a very, very brief comments, just to thank everybody for today. Thank you, Izabella, for the course. Over the course of the 4 webinars, you have been a very challenging moderator who has asked very good questions, adding to a sort of thinking outside of the box approach to all of our discussions. I echo your comments in relation to the webinars to date, including today's, all very dynamic, all very different, all very interesting, varied perspectives. And I've learned so much also, and I've no doubts those who have listened in and those who listen in the future will also learn. But I think the 2 important points that I'd like to make very quickly is, and I think Alan touched on it in his excellent presentation, the area of education. Education, as we know, is the key and the cornerstone of the foundation stone to all of this, and it starts from when people are very young, when children are very young, up until today. We can never stop educating. And I think if we are to reach the goals by 2030, this has to be, I guess, one area that we really focus on, and especially, well, like I say, in primary schools, secondary schools, etc., so that people that can carry this forward and beyond 2030. The other point, I guess, is the issue of implementation and action. We can talk and we can meet and we can have great and provocative discussions, but at the end of the day, there needs to be implementation and action. And I think what we've seen today from Enel, Capital Leasing, and Crowley Carbon is that implementation, is that action and real action, and a real passion in terms of the work that they're doing in and around the SDGs, climate, etc., energy efficiency. So I have to say I really welcomed today's webinar, a fitting end to the series, but only an end to the series and only as part of the conversation going forward. And I look forward to working with yourself, Izabella, and CEBRI in the future. The Consulate and the Embassy would very much like to continue this partnership with the SDGs in mind, and hopefully we can have an in-person event when we're launching the report from this series, which I think will make for very, very good reading, and will also lend itself to events out of that. So very briefly again, just to thank everybody, to thank Mariana in the background, who has been just excellent, to my own Vice Consul, Jane Henneberry, who has been absolutely excellent throughout the series also. And again, to all the guests today, thank you so much. And we look forward to bringing this forward, and we look forward to maybe something around COP26 in Glasgow. Who knows, we may be there in person. And we can enjoy an afternoon session of some sort.
I'll be there. I hope that I'll be there if we have copy, okay? But I'm sure that I'll be there. I'm sure that I can meet you there. It's so funny. But thank you very much, Consul, again, okay? On behalf of CEBRI, also of the Brazilian Society, I'd like to thank you very much for this partnership, okay? It's really amazing experience. And I learned a lot about your country, I confess this, and also and how we can come together. And we need to come together. I'm not sure if we have all the tools to rebuild things that we need to rebuild around the world, but you have the confidence and the hope. And it's very important, and also the friendship, okay? This is very important to come together. The need solidarity, a new way to express solidarity around the world, and I think that COVID is also highlight this for us today. So let's see what will come, and be sure that will be very, for me, it was an amazing experience, but I hope that we can have another experience soon, as you mentioned, and everything that you need, please, you have a good friend here in Brazil. Okay, be sure of this. Thank all the panelists again, and also for Firjan, for co-host as our ambassador, and also Firjan staff that support all the arrangements, okay, the logistics arrangements that we can be together today. So see you soon, I hope so. Have a nice weekend. Don't forget to be happy, and also health and peace for everyone. Take care, and see you soon, my dear friends. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.